Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you guys how to master the MACD, and I'm going to give you guys 5 additional settings for the MACD so you guys aren't constrained by the default settings. You guys are going to have a complete understanding of what everything means. That way you guys can make some more consistent profits regardless if you guys are trading stocks, cryptocurrencies, or options or Forex pairs. You guys are going to understand how to use this and master it, okay? Now, first things first, go over here to Tradingview, and I want you guys to find MACD under Indicators, Metrics, and Strategies. It's going to be right here underneath Technicals, Moving Average, Convergence, Divergence, and I want you guys to click on it once. Next, what I need you guys to do is just make it a little bit larger so your eyes can see exactly what's going on. I am zoomed in at 150%, so sometimes if you guys are zoomed at 100 or 110, it's still going to look pretty small. So to fix that here, we're going to go over here to Settings, and I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I want you guys to go over here to Style. And you guys are going to change some stuff up here just to make your life a lot easier. You're going to go over here to color 0 on the MACD, and you guys are going to make this the 4th thickness. Same thing for the signal, color 0, make this into the 4th thickness. And all we've really done here is just make these two lines pop a little bit more and make our lives a lot easier, okay? Now, in today's video, we're going to be breaking down a whole bunch of stuff right here, and my dog's walking around somewhere over here. And we're going to be breaking down the fast length, the slow length, the source, the signal smoothing, the oscillator types, and everything on here. And then again, as I said, I'm going to give you guys a whole bunch of settings here so you guys have an idea of which strategy is going to work the best for you. Okay. And here's Loki. Hello, Loki. So he says hi. Now, before I get started with that one, let's just explain what exactly is going on with the MACD so you guys have an opportunity to just understand from a very basic view of what you guys are looking for when you guys see this on your charts, okay? Because there are multiple signals that can help you guys make a lot of money. So, first things first, what you're looking for are these two lines right here. The blue line is known as the MACD line. The orange line is known as the signal line. You guys can change the colors if you want to, but don't forget which line is which, okay? Usually the MACD line is going to be much more active. You can think of it being more as a shorter term EMA or SMA, while the orange line right here, the signal line, is going to be much more of a longer term line. It's going to be much slower as it curves and edges, okay? Just in case for whatever reason you forget the characteristics of each line. Now, when you see the crossovers here where the MACD crosses below the signal line, that is usually a very bearish sign. It doesn't mean buy or sell right away. It just means that's a very bearish sign. Think of a death cross, okay? Now, when the MACD line crosses above the signal line here, which happened right here, that's usually a very bullish sign, and that's an opportunity for you to start looking for buying positions if you guys haven't already. Now, you guys know that I don't normally use a histogram on my MACDs personally, but I do have it on the streams for you guys just to help you out. All the histogram means, everybody, all it means is the difference between the signal line and the MACD line. If the MACD line is increasingly getting further and further away from the signal line, you're going to see this histogram continue to show strength here by being this darker green color. The moment they start to get closer and closer and closer together, that's where you start to see that darker green turn into a lighter green. You guys can change these colors up no matter what you guys want to do, you know, whatever your preference is, but that's all it means. And if you guys can see the characteristics right here, you guys are fine. But sometimes it's nice to have them just so you can see what's going on right here. But again, what's happening? Remember, we're just measuring some momentum here. You can see how we're slowing down because we had the big move, followed by all those green candles right here, or green histograms, and what happened? We started to slow down. That's all it means, right? You don't overthink the MACD. The MACD is going to, a lot of the time, you're going to be already knowing what the MACD is telling you in certain respects, just because you guys have been looking at charts for a while now. All right. And the other thing you guys are going to be looking at right here is this 0 line. Now, on the Tradingview one, it doesn't really show a 0 line here. Even if you guys go over to Style, right, it'll see like something in the gray territory. It's very hard to see. What I'd recommend is if you guys go over here, you make it white, and then maybe you guys can make it all the way opaque or 100% opacity and make it thick. That way you guys can just see the dotted lines right here. It's really up to preference. I've seen people go red. I've seen people do green, you know, yellow even. It's really up to your preference here, guys. I'd probably just put it white, maybe the 3rd or 4th thickness, and then you guys are just going to leave it there. If you guys want to see it a different way, you can always make it a dotted line, which I think is just easier on the eyes, or you guys can just make it into a solid line here if you guys just want to have that hard level right there, okay? For now, I'm going to make it into a dotted line, but you guys, as always, do whatever you want as far as the aesthetic part of this. And then, okay, afterwards, when we go from green to red as far as the histogram, we cross over that 0 line, all that's indicating is we've had a crossover between the MACD and the signal line. That's all it means, which is, again, why I normally do not have a histogram on my charts, because everything you can see on the histogram is usually available with those 2 lines. All right, so now that you guys have an easy idea of what you guys are looking for, whether you guys are looking for the slow dance between the acceleration and the momentum, whether, a darker green to lighter green, or the crossing over, which is usually a bearish sign if the MACD crosses below the orange line or the signal line, or if we see a bullish sign where the MACD crosses above, those are what you guys are looking for here. That's pretty much it as far as the MACD, unless you go with divergences, which I guess we can cover divergences now, actually. One of the interesting things here is the MACD, right? It usually will lead the price. So there are times where you see the overall MACD and signal lines coming down, but the price action really isn't doing anything crazy. Remember, if you guys go from over here, from when we had that high point, all we've really done is go sideways, right? And in fact, we've actually gone higher and higher, and we've seen a pretty aggressive divergence. So when we see the price going one way and the oscillator or the MACD going down another way here, this usually wins out. The MACD usually wins out, okay? Don't think that the MACD is going to lose out, especially on a daily chart or a weekly chart compared to the overall market, or the price action, excuse me, okay? Now, when you see the divergence happening over and over and over again, to you, this is an opportunity where if you guys have loaded up on some shorts or something in this particular scenario, you're going to feel more confident about holding those shorts. And you can see eventually we did have that mini capitulation. You guys had an opportunity to sell those shorts for some money or close those shorts. And then, of course, we had a little bit of a rebound here. All right. Now, as far as all these settings and what they exactly mean, let's go over here to inputs and let's kind of break everything down. As far as the time frame is concerned, this one is something I'd never change. Frankly, I just never change it, okay? What this allows you to do is see different MACDs based on the charts you guys are looking at. So I'm currently on a daily chart, but maybe I want to see the 4-hour MACD chart while I'm looking on the daily chart. You know what? I just don't like the way it looks. It looks very ugly. Sometimes if you do really want to use it, you might be looking at something more of a 15-minute chart, and maybe you want to see the MACD on a 30-minute chart, right? This could be a little bit more useful for you guys. If you're looking at that, you can see the crossover right here, the downward momentum, and it kept on going over and over and over again. That's a little bit more useful here, but I would say 99.9% of the time, just switch over from chart to chart and then just remember in your head. This is usually for people like me that don't have ADHD and we just can't remember stuff from second to second. I find it easier to kind of keep it at the chart, go over, and you can see all the MACDs. For instance, Bitcoin is having a crossover on the 2-hour chart. On the 4-hour chart, we're about to have a crossover as well. The daily chart, we already had our crossover, hence you guys can see the red. You guys don't even have to look at the MACD and signal lines if you guys are looking at the histogram, okay? Vice versa as well. But I prefer to look at the lines because it shows just, I like it a little bit more personally, okay? Now, the other parts that you guys are going to be looking at here is the fast length and the slow length and the source. So these 3 things right here go into making this blue line, right? And so when you change these numbers up, which I'll give you a whole bunch of numbers here in a little bit, this is going to change how aggressive or a lack of aggressiveness from this MACD line, which is going to show you either more or less signals across the signal line, okay? Now, of course, if you guys are more aggressive, it's going to give you more false signals, but if you guys are trading with shorter time frames, that may be fine with you because you're going to have tons of stop losses. Because all you're trying to do is make 70 to 80% of the trades you make profitable. If you do that, you're golden. Okay. So I'm going to teach you guys how to change these up later on, but all these go into is just making the line. It's nothing too complicated here. If we adjust these to like maybe 60, something like that. Oh, this is going to look kind of wonky here. Yeah. But you can see what it looks like here. It makes the change a lot different, okay? Don't really mess with them too much unless you guys have a standard default setting that you like. And again, I'll give you guys 5 additional settings to go on top of this classic 12, 26, and 9. Most of you guys, when you guys hear settings for MACDs, they're going to be 3 numbers. Those numbers are going to be for 1 for fast length, 1 for slow length, and 1 for signal smoothing, okay? Now, as far as the close, again, there's a calculation that goes here for the MACD line. This is determining which price is used in that calculation. I will always keep it at closed or open. I think 90% of the time, close is usually the best. If you guys are trading commodities, like the price of soybeans and stuff like that, which I doubt you guys are, maybe you guys want to go over here to HL2 and HLC3. But for the most part, for the most of the time, guys, I just keep it at close. There's really no reason to change this. If you guys want to change it up a little bit just to do a bit of back testing, try it out. Try open, high, low, and all that means is what the price was at, the high for that candle, that'll go into the formula here and be plopped out in a different looking MACD. So look at the MACD over here, right in the middle of the screen, and let me go from close to low. And you can see how it moved just a little bit. Wasn't epic, wasn't crazy, right? Because the numbers are really controlling most of the stuff going on here. But in a very volatile moment, maybe on a 5-minute chart or a 15-minute chart, the move can look much more dramatic. It can have much larger impacts on your trading performance. So you guys are going to have to back test it if you guys want to go off of the normal close. Close is standard. Close is usually the best thing because that is the price of the candle at the end of the time frame there, right? So it's closed, it's permanent. You don't have to worry about it. Now, after we have the source here, we have signal smoothing. This just determines how fast and aggressive this signal line is. Some of you guys want this thing to be moving very fast and rapidly. Some of you guys want this to be very, very slow. There are tons of different numbers out there that you can use for this, like 6, 5, 20. There's a bunch. For now, let's just leave it at 9, but I will give you guys, again, some opportunities to change this up in the future so you guys can back test this. As far as the oscillator MA type and the signal line MA type, I will always keep this at EMA just because they're a little bit faster reacting than the SMAs. If you guys trust the SMAs more, this is something that you guys are going to have to choose your preference. I honestly just recommend the EMA. It's good. It's the better than the SMAs in my opinion. But again, I'm trading stuff like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Apple, Microsoft. If you guys are trading GameStop, maybe you want to have the extra security and not be fooled by all that volatility that goes on there. You want to be humbled a little bit. Go with the SMA, on both of these and see how it reacts. Back test it, okay? Now, afterwards, we have the MACD color lines right here. Again, very simple. Change the colors if you guys want to. Some of you guys come from other trading softwares over to Tradingview, or maybe some of you guys aren't even using Tradingview. Use whatever colors you guys like, but just remember which one is the signal line and which one is the MACD line. All right, very, very simple. Some of you guys even like to just make it opaque so you guys can tell which one it is. You guys probably can't see that, but I can see that, right? Excuse me. So you guys can change it up a little bit, okay? Now, as far as the histogram, a lot of people like to make this a little bit darker and lighter, so to speak. So, some people don't like the turquoise, so they make it a little bit darker green here, right? And they make it into a lighter green on the other side. I mean, this is really all up to preference, everybody. I don't really think there's too much to go here, but I do have to admit I hate the color of this light red. So typically what I'll do is I'll make it into like a lighter red like that. See, a little bit like that. And then I'll make the darker one just a little bit darker. And there you go. Maybe even a little bit lighter than that one. Yeah, there you go. It's all preference as far as that's concerned. So once you got all of this stuff down, then you guys are going to have to learn how to use this properly. And let's just go over here to an hourly chart just so you guys can see. We did the daily chart a little bit ago, but I want you guys to clearly understand what's going on here because the hourly chart is probably the most difficult, I would say, to use the MACD on. If you guys are like day and swing traders, because it's right in that mid-range where it's not as powerful as the MACD crossovers on the 4-hour chart, but it's not as useful if you guys are scalping like the MACD crossovers on the 15-minute chart, okay? So this is going to be a little more difficult, but you guys will see what's going on here, okay? So let's just kind of find this random point in time that we're looking at. If we're doing an hour chart, we're only going to be holding for a few hours, maybe up to 10 or 12, not really a lot. But let's look at some of the crossovers right here. So we have some type of rocky motion going on. And you guys can see that we had a crossover. Let me find a signal. Let's just do a money sign, I guess. Signal right here, and that's the 3rd of April. That's not too bad. Okay. And let's do one right here. I just hate having the lines go up across the screen. All right. So we had that crossover right here. And you guys can see as soon as that crossover happened, right here, was that the 3rd right here, you guys would have bought in at the end of this if you guys were just following the signal, which is not recommended, and you guys would have made the profit up here as it hit this level of resistance, and that's a clean in and out. You're in for about an hour, maybe 2 hours, and you've made your profit. You walk away. If you're using leverage, you made a lot of money, and it's a simple clean cut as that, okay? Now, let's look at what else was going on here, because normally you guys are not just going to be using the MACD lines because it doesn't always work that way. It's better to have other things going on. So There are a lot of smart money concepts indicators out there if you guys want to use them. Usually all it means is we've broken the cycle of lower lows, or excuse me, lower highs. And in this circumstance, we made a higher low on top of it. So you can see that we had a minor level of resistance right here. We didn't break right here, but again, we broke out right there on that MACD crossover. And that's another signal right there to buy. And then of course, your stop loss in this scenario would be all the way back down here, or it could just be this line right here. Because again, we're looking at a 1 hour chart. But if I go over here to a 15-minute chart, just kind of zoom in a little bit more. You're buying right here towards the end of this, because that's where the confirmation is happening, on at least on the hourly chart, okay? The hourly chart. But you can see your stop loss might be right there, or your stop loss might be right around here, okay? Now, if you're looking at this pragmatically, you can see this stop loss is at 0.68. This stop loss is at 1%. I can absorb a 1% stop loss. If I am doing some day trading with Bitcoin, which doesn't very fluctuate as much as you might think, I might have something like a 10x leverage. So I'm risking 10%, right? And then what I'm looking to do here is open up a long position where I'm risking 1%, and I want to have a decent ratio. I just want to be able to make some good money off of it. I have to look for a few different resistance levels, and that resistance level happens to be right up here. Actually, for you guys might like rectangles a little bit more, so let me get rid of this line. There we go. Probably going to be looking for something like that. Let's go a bit wider. There you go. We're going to be looking for that zone. Some of you guys may even move it down here to that middle area. All right, and that's what you guys are looking for right here. And again, we don't know what the price was going to do, but your target is somewhere up here on the high side, okay? Now, is this the best trade you guys can be doing? No, but if you guys are scalping and you guys are disciplined, this is a great way just to make a few bucks, at 1:30 in the morning, right? Now, something else you may pair with a MACD is something like the Supertrend right here, or maybe the whole suite indicator. These can be okay depending on what you guys are looking for. You guys are going to have to tailor these, though, for some more precise movements. These are set up for daily charts, so for now, they're not going to really make much sense. But you guys can see we did have a confirmation right here on the Supertrend with the buy signal that happened during the following candle. So if you guys are a little bit more reserved about just doing the change of character plus the MACD crossover, what you guys can be hoping for is just to buy from here and sell up here, again, when you're hitting that level of resistance that we talked about, okay? Now, if I was to get rid of everything else, let's go over here to a 4-hour chart example, a little bit something better for the everything else. Let me go over here to AutoFits data. All right, and now you guys can see what's going on here. You can see we had a crossover on the MACD way over here. That was back on February 11th of 2023. Let's go back over here to February 11th. Somewhere in this zone right here. You can see that crossover, but you can see how the price is going down, right? The price is going down. Well, that's what's called a divergence. So we see that divergence happening. So what are we looking for? Some type of breakout, something to actually get us excited. Because again, we have this sell signal from the Supertrend. We have the whole suite indicator right here also looking bearish. So what do we have to wait for? We have to wait for a breakout or something important to happen. In this scenario here, there wasn't really much happening because I think this was some type of a crisis going on. Not the banking crisis, but something else. So you're looking for a breakout, okay? And you can see right here, nice little trend line. What did we have? We had the divergence happening over here during this zone. We also had the crossover that happened right here. So that's two signals. And then we had the buy signal right here off of a breakout. And so you guys could have bought this breakout after the MACD crossover and looked for some profits right there. Again, looking for your level of resistance. You guys don't necessarily have to try to get the top, okay? I think that's a really weird conception that you have to buy the bottom, you have to get the top. It's perfectly acceptable to buy right here and sell right here, be in the trade for 12 hours or something, and just be very happy with your profits. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? So here are some settings that I think you guys should know when it comes to the MACD, depending on what time frames you guys are going to be using them for, okay? So I hid my head so I can show you guys all these MACDs that I just put on this chart for you guys. The first one here is, of course, the basic one. We don't have to change anything. That's the 12.26.9. This is your standard. This is perfectly fine for new investors. But if you guys want to get some like an edge on everybody else, here are some other ones that you guys are really going to like, okay? We're going to hide that one. The next one that we have right here, This one uses the settings fast 3, slow 7, and signal smoothing is going to be 3, okay? Basically, this setting is very sensitive to price changes and can generate signals quickly. It's best for short-term, fast-paced trading, but may produce way more false signals. So, use it wisely. We're on a daily chart right now, so it's not going to make much sense for us. But if we go over here to something more like a 5-minute chart, and you guys are trying to scalp, make this a little bit larger. I know I have a whole bunch of MACDs on here, so it's going to make it a little bit more difficult. But you can see you had that crossover right here, crossover right here. Actually, what is this? The crossover occurred at the 1535 right here. So again, right here, I know I'm sorry about this, guys. It looks all cluttered. But you guys buy right here. You guys get your resistance level right there, and you're in and out within a few minutes. This could be 20, 30, 40, 50x leverage if you're doing something like this. But there are traders that trade like this, and you guys might have to do it as well. If you guys are trading options, same thing. You're in and out in like 15, 20 minutes, and you guys have made a great profit. There's no reason to struggle with this type of stuff, okay? Now, that's one way to use it. Again, you're not going to be looking at divergences all too much. You're going to be really looking for those crossovers here for short in and outs. At the same time, guys, when you guys are trading like this, the goal is to understand what's going on here, okay? What's going on, your ultimate levels of resistance and support. You guys can see some stuff happening right there. We're at a lower part right here. Maybe look for a crossover on this side right as we're touching down here so you can have a bounce play that's going to give you guys some really good returns. Understand what's going on. Don't just ignore everything else going on in the chart. It'll burn you more times than not. So please, 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 have an understanding of what's going on here, why it's better to be buying down here at support levels, etc., etc., okay? Now, the next one here, let's go back over to the daily chart. If the one we just talked about was something more of a very fast-paced, this one is just something you would call fast or like a moderately fast-paced, okay? This one uses fast 8, slow 17, and signal smoothing of 7. Again, this is something you might want to be using on the 5-minute or the 15-minute charts. It can be very useful. When you're looking at something more sideways like this, it's probably not going to be the best, but overall, you're going to be looking for some divergences, right? This is where you can start getting into that zone of like, hey, look at the divergence. So you're seeing the divergence go up. First, right now, it seems to be slowly sideways. As the divergence happens, I might be expecting something of a shorter term breakout above this level of resistance right here. And then, of course, I might be looking to trade that back up here to around 28,000, or maybe a little bit higher if I want to scale out, if I'm doing a leverage play. So I'm up here on 28,052. Again, not looking too crazy. Since we are bouncing off of this, maybe you can hold on for a longer period of time and hope for something more like 28,158. Again, with leverage, this is going to be money, but without leverage, this will not be as much money. So that's like 0.78%. 10x, you're like at 7%, okay? So that's the way you got to look at it. And you could be holding for a few hours to maybe a day, and you guys can make some good profit off of that, okay? Now, this was moderately fast. This one is what you might be calling more of just moderate. Nothing really crazy happening. This is the closest to default that you're going to get. This one is fast 10, slow 21, and signal smoothing 9. Remember, guys, you guys are going to test this out by yourself to see which one works the best. I like to use this one with the 2-hour and the 4-hour charts, primarily the 4-hour chart, though. So let me just go over here, get rid of all the other drawings. And you can see right here, some crossovers. And again, I'm sorry, guys. Actually, let me just get rid of these ones as I don't need them anymore. There you go. There you go. It makes life a little bit easier. You guys are looking for some crossovers and divergences to see what's happening. And this scenario right here, we have the crossover right here at 9 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock in the morning right here. You can see that the difference in the two lines accelerating here. And you buying in right, I guess, at the top of this, not the bottom of the top, because we had to wait for the candle to close. And within about 12 hours, what is this, 12 hours, you have that profit right there running into that resistance right there. And that's all you're doing. You guys can look at this from a weekly chart perspective and stuff like that if you want to. For if you guys are looking for some really huge moves, definitely be fine with that. You can see the crossover that happened way, way, way over here. Again, if you buy right here on Monday, July 15th, it's like over there. It's somewhere over here. We did come down. Eventually, you see that divergence happening. Eventually, the price catches up to the divergence, and we did take off. Maybe after the breakout, maybe after the change of character over here, whatever. But you guys were able to see multiple signals saying, hey, we might be looking to have a breakout here. It's just that usually in the moment, there's a crisis going on when it comes to cryptocurrencies. Not as much, hopefully, when it comes to stocks and stuff like that, but we did just have a banking crisis as well. But again, These settings are 10, 21, and 9. These are the more moderate ones. This is the closest to the default settings that you guys are going to get. After that, let me get rid of that one. We're going to be going to a little bit more of a slower one. So if the other one was moderately fast or moderate, you guys are going to be looking at this as being moderately slow. All right. These numbers are going to be fast length is 13, slow is 27, and signal smoothing is 10. Now keep everything the same. You're going to see everything is just a little bit slower here. Not much craziness. Primarily, I use these on longer time frames. It doesn't really work too much on the shorter ones. But again, if I were to stretch this out a little bit here, you can see this crossover that happened all the way back on March 18th. It's now April 8th. Since that crossover, not much has been happening in the world of Bitcoin. We've actually had a lot of divergences occur, right? Divergence coming down. It seemed the MACD and signal line coming down, the price coming over here, and we've seen the divergence. We had a little bit of a pop-up right here, right there. That really didn't amount to anything, because of course, if you zoom out a little bit, you start to see that huge level of resistance that we're dealing with. And again, I apologize for us being so zoomed in here, or not zoomed in enough, I would say. All right, and you can see right here, these slow signals aren't really working out too well on a sideways chart. So if you guys are expecting to trade this on a sideways market, probably best you don't do it. If you guys are looking at something like on a 4-hour chart that's a little bit more volatile, like something more, something more like this, even that's not too volatile. There you go, some volatility over here. This might be more bang for your buck, but again, you have to understand what's going on, right? You have to understand what's going on in comparison, and if you guys don't, it can be a little more painful. All right. Now, the last one we're going to be using here is the very, very slow one. Most of you guys are going to stick with the fast, the moderate. You guys aren't really going to deal with these very, very slow ones, but if you guys do want to deal with them, it's going to be fast 20, slow 50, and then it's going to be signal smoothing at 15. Now, if you guys want to use this with the weekly charts, I think this is usually where this comes into play a lot more, right? You can see that level of resistance we were just talking about over there, matching up with support levels over here and old support levels over there as far as Bitcoin's concerned. We had this crossover right here, and that seems to be on, let's just say Monday, the 19th of December. Monday, the 19th of December, that crossover happened, and then boom, look at that huge move. I particularly like this with weekly charts. It works the same with other things out there. Maybe we can go over here to something more like an Apple, right? We had that crossover right here. And what happened? Pop. We had a weird little signal right here, which is interesting. I guess there was a major inflation crisis going on last year, but still, we had a breakout right there. It popped up for maybe like 1 week, and then we had a crossover again. Then we had that really big drop right there. Again, have an idea of what's going on. The crossover right here, you can see we just went down. Crossover right there, we went up. Crossover down right here, slight downward. And again, support level really right there. Make this simple, guys. There's no reason to complicate this. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and if you guys have any questions, please leave them down below in the comments, and I will try to answer them. And I'll be trying to do more simple tutorials like this where we go over the RSI, exactly how to use it, all the indicators, all the different settings you guys can use. So if you guys want to see that, please make sure to subscribe. Thanks, everybody.